Pain often begins where communication breaks down, and the lower back that breakdown usually starts deep beneath the muscles we can see. The body relies on a quiet system of stabilizers that work before movement even begins, preparing the spine for load, gravity, and change. When these muscles become inactive, the spine loses its sense of internal security. The brain perceives instability as danger, and pain becomes a protective signal rather than a sign of damage. The first exercise works not by forcing strength, but by restoring trust between the nervous system and the spine, reminding the body that support can exist without tension. This movement gently awakens the deep core, especially the muscles that wrap around the spine like a living corset. These muscles do not create visible motion, yet they determine how safe the spine feels during every action, from standing up to turning in bed. Scientific observation shows that in people with chronic back pain, these stabilizers often activate too late or not at all. The result is microstress on spinal joints and discs, repeated thousands of times a day, until discomfort becomes constant. This exercise retrains timing rather than power, teaching the muscles to engage softly and early, just enough to create stability without stiffness. What makes this exercise so powerful is its subtlety. There's no strain, no dramatic stretch, no sensation of effort that demands willpower. Instead, the body is asked to listen inwardly, to notice breath, alignment, and gentle engagement. This quiet focus calms the nervous system, lowering the background noise of fear that often amplifies pain. When the brain senses control and predictability, pain signals lose their urgency. The spine is no longer bracing against imagined threats, and movement begins to feel safe again. Over time, this exercise redistributes pressure along the spine. Rather than allowing certain segments to bear excessive load, the body learns to share effort evenly. Discs experience less compression, ligaments are spared constant tension, and muscles stop overworking to compensate for weakness elsewhere. This is not a repair in the mechanical sense, but a refinement of coordination. The body was always capable of this stability, but modern habits often silence it. Sitting too long, moving too little, and rushing through daily tasks all contribute to forgetting how to engage this inner support system. As the deep core wakes up, posture changes without force. The spine naturally lengthens, the pelvis finds a more balanced position, and breathing deepens. These changes are not imposed from the outside. They emerge as a consequence of improved internal organization. Pain begins to fade, not because it is being fought, but because the reason for its existence is slowly removed. The body no longer needs to shout when it feels heard. This exercise teaches an essential lesson about healing back pain. Strength does not always mean effort, and progress does not always feel intense. Sometimes the most meaningful change happens in stillness, in small controlled moments where the body relearns how to support itself quietly and confidently, rebuilding a foundation that allows all other movement to become safer, smoother, and more free. The lower back is often blamed for pain that does not truly originate there. In many bodies, the spine is simply compensating for stiffness elsewhere, especially in the hips. The hips are designed to be powerful, mobile joints, capable of absorbing force and allowing the legs to move freely beneath the torso. When they lose mobility, the body does not stop moving. It reroutes motion upward into the lower back. Over time, this borrowed movement becomes excessive, and the spine begins to ache not because it is weak, but because it is doing work it was never designed to do. This second exercise gently returns motion to the hips, not by forcing flexibility, but by restoring the natural rhythm between the pelvis and the legs. Scientific understanding of movement shows that healthy walking, lifting, and turning all depend on coordinated hip motion. When that coordination fades, the nervous system allows the spine to bend and twist more than it should, simply to keep life moving forward. This exercise teaches the body that the hips are safe to move again, reducing the need for the spine to compensate. As the hips regain mobility, something subtle yet profound happens in the lower back. Muscles that were constantly guarding begin to relax. The spine senses that it no longer has to be the primary source of movement, and pain signals soften. This is not immediate relief driven by stretching alone, but a gradual reduction in threat perception. The nervous system constantly evaluates risk, and stiffness often represents fear stored in tissue. By moving the hips slowly and with control, this exercise reassures the brain that motion does not equal danger. There's also a circulatory effect that cannot be ignored. Gentle hip movement improves blood flow to surrounding tissues, including those that influence the lower back. Improved circulation brings oxygen and nutrients while clearing metabolic waste that can sensitize nerves. This biological housekeeping creates an internal environment more conducive to healing. Pain thrives in stagnation, and this exercise introduces fluidity where there was once resistance. Over time, daily movements begin to change. Standing up feels smoother. Turning no longer triggers a sharp reminder from the back. The spine moves less, not because it is restricted, but because it no longer needs to overextend itself. This redistribution of motion reflects intelligence rather than limitation. The body is choosing efficiency over compensation, balance over survival-driven shortcuts. Perhaps the most important impact of this exercise is psychological. When people feel their hips move freely again, confidence returns to their movement. Fear of bending or rotating decreases, and with it, the protective tension that fuels chronic pain. Healing accelerates when the body and mind agree that movement is safe. This exercise does not simply increase range of motion. It restores trust in the body's design, allowing the spine to rest, the hips to lead, and pain to loosen its grip as the system rediscovers harmony. The muscles that run along the spine were never meant to live in extremes. They're not designed to be constantly tight, nor are they meant to be inactive and weak. Their true role is endurance, the quiet ability to support the spine over long periods without fatigue or strain. Back pain often emerges when these muscles lose this balance, either locking into chronic tension or failing to engage when needed. The third exercise addresses this problem not by chasing strength in the traditional sense, but by teaching these muscles how to work calmly and consistently. Scientific observation shows that many people with persistent back pain overactivate surface muscles, while deeper stabilizers remain underused. This creates a false sense of strength that quickly leads to exhaustion. When fatigue sets in, the spine loses support, and pain appears as a warning. This exercise slows everything down. Movement becomes controlled and deliberate, allowing the spinal muscles to engage in harmony rather than competition. There is no sudden load, no explosive effort, just a steady demand for awareness and balance. As these muscles learn endurance, something remarkable happens in the nervous system. The brain begins to trust the spine again. Pain often reflects uncertainty, a signal that the system does not feel prepared for the demands placed upon it. When the spinal muscles demonstrate reliability through slow, sustained activation, the brain reduces its protective output. Pain fades not because it is suppressed, but because it is no longer necessary. This exercise also improves coordination between the spine and the rest of the body. The arms and legs are no longer moving independently while the back struggles to keep up. Instead, movement becomes integrated, with the spine acting as a stable yet responsive center. This integration reduces unnecessary strain on individual spinal segments, distributing load more evenly across the entire column. Discs, joints, and connective tissues benefit from this shared responsibility. Breathing plays a subtle but essential role here. As the spinal muscles work gently over time, breath naturally deepens and slows. This synchrony between breath and movement signals safety to the nervous system. Stress hormones decrease, muscle tone normalizes, and pain sensitivity drops. The exercise becomes not just a physical practice, but a neurological reset, teaching the body that effort does not have to mean danger. Over days and weeks, posture begins to improve without conscious correction. The spine feels taller, not rigid. Muscles that once ached from overuse grow quieter, while those that were dormant become active again. This balance restores the spine's natural resilience. Pain loses its grip because the body no longer relies on extremes of tension or collapse to maintain stability. The deeper lesson of this exercise is that healing the back is less about forcing change and more about cultivating reliability. When the spinal muscles learn endurance instead of aggression, the body moves with confidence rather than fear, and pain slowly retreats as the spine rediscovers its capacity to support life with steady, intelligent strength. The upper back is often forgotten in conversations about pain, yet it plays a silent and decisive role in how the spine carries the weight of the body. When the upper back becomes stiff and collapsed, the lower back is forced to compensate by arching or tightening excessively. This imbalance does not come from weakness alone, but from a gradual loss of movement and breath in the ribcage. The fourth exercise restores a dialogue between the upper spine and the breath, reminding the body that support does not come only from muscles, but from space and expansion. Modern posture encourages a shallow breathing and rounded shoulders. Over time, the ribcage loses its ability to expand fully, limiting oxygen intake and altering spinal alignment. The nervous system interprets restricted breathing as a sign of stress, subtly increasing muscle tension throughout the back. This exercise reverses that process by encouraging gentle opening of the upper spine while synchronizing movement with slow, deep breaths. As the ribs expand, the spine experiences a sense of length rather than compression. Scientific understanding shows that breathing is deeply connected to posture and pain perception. When breath is shallow, the body remains in a low-level state of alert. Muscles tighten, circulation decreases, and sensitivity to discomfort increases. By restoring full, rhythmic breathing through upper back movement, this exercise sends a powerful signal of safety to the brain. The result is a measurable decrease in unnecessary muscle tension, particularly in areas that are prone to chronic tightness. As the upper back regains mobility, posture improves without effort. The head naturally aligns over the shoulders, reducing strain on the neck and lower spine. This alignment is not forced. It emerges from improved internal balance. When the rib cage moves freely, the spine no longer collapses forward or overarches backward. Pain often decreases simply because the spine is no longer fighting gravity in an inefficient position. There is also an emotional dimension to this exercise. The upper back and chest are closely linked to how we respond to stress. Chronic protection, both physical and emotional, often manifests as rounded shoulders and restricted breath. By opening this area gently, the body releases layers of guarded tension. This release can create a sense of lightness and ease that extends beyond physical relief, influencing mood and mental clarity. Over time, the lower back benefits quietly from this change. With the upper spine participating fully in movement and breathing, the load is shared more evenly along the spinal column. The lower back no longer carries the full burden of support and motion. Pain softens as pressure redistributes, and tissues experience relief from constant overuse. This exercise teaches that healing does not always come from strengthening or stretching alone. Sometimes it comes from creating space, from allowing the body to breathe more fully and stand more honestly. When breath and posture align, the spine remembers its natural shape, and pain fades as the body settles into a state of balance and openness that supports movement with ease and calm confidence. The final exercise shifts the focus from isolated muscles to the intelligence of the whole system. Real life does not challenge the back in stillness. It challenges it during moments of imbalance, unexpected movement, and changing loads. Back pain often persists because the body has learned to feel safe only in controlled positions, while everyday actions continue to feel unpredictable. This exercise gently exposes the spine to controlled instability, teaching it how to remain calm and supported even when balance is challenged. At the heart of this movement is coordination. The spine is asked to stay stable while the arms or legs move, creating a dialogue between mobility and control. Scientifically, this trains the nervous system to anticipate movement rather than react to it. Anticipation is essential for pain-free motion. When the brain predicts that the spine can handle a task, it reduces protective muscle guarding. Pain decreases not because the movement is easier, but because it is better organized. Balance work activates deep, stabilizing muscles automatically. Unlike isolated strengthening exercises, this movement does not require conscious effort to engage the right muscles. The body recruits them instinctively, just as it would during daily activities like reaching, stepping, or turning. This automatic engagement is critical because pain often appears when muscles fail to activate quickly enough. By practicing stability in motion, the spine learns to protect itself without excessive tension. This exercise also refines proprioception, the body's sense of position in space. When proprioception is impaired, movements become clumsy and the spine is exposed to sudden, uncoordinated forces. Gentle balance challenges sharpen this internal awareness. The body becomes more precise, more efficient, and less reactive. With improved precision comes confidence, and with confidence, the nervous system relaxes its grip on pain. There's a quiet psychological shift that accompanies this physical change. As balance improves, fear of movement diminishes. Many people with back pain avoid certain motions, not because they are harmful, but because they feel unsafe. This avoidance reinforces weakness and sensitivity. By practicing controlled instability, the body relearns that movement can be both challenging and safe. Fear dissolves, and with it, the protective patterns that sustain chronic pain. Over time, this exercise builds resilience rather than rigidity. The spine becomes adaptable, capable of responding to uneven ground, sudden shifts, and real-world demands without distress. Muscles share responsibility instead of relying on a single area to absorb stress. This distributed effort reduces wear on vulnerable spinal structures and creates a sense of internal balance. The deeper lesson of this exercise is that true spinal health is dynamic. The back does not heal by being protected from movement, but by being prepared for it. When stability and motion coexist, the spine regains its natural confidence, and pain releases its hold as the body learns once again how to move through the world with balance, coordination, and quiet strength.